From Bad Monkey Studios in beautiful Amish country, heard throughout these fabulous United States and around the globe on the World Wide Web, this is The B Team with Cory and Jim. There it is. We're back on that natural fade again that you like.
I like it. That sounds so good.
Yeah, plus I don't have to really be attentive to it.
Exactly.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Jen didn't get to hear that because she went without the headphones today.
I think it's the first one ever.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Rebel. Just do it.
I know.
Just do it.
Because of the hair. You know, that's important.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: when I play like my sound effects and stuff, you won't be able to hear it, so you don't know if I'm making like fart noises or whatever.
Just make
I'm
good
doing.
sound effects, okay?
Jen O'Brien is in the studio with us today. Jen has her own practice. You're a CNP,
Yes.
correct?
nurse
And
practitioner.
that means what?
That means that I have a master's degree in nursing, so I treat patients. I can write prescriptions. I can order labs, X-rays. I'm basically like a doctor, but get paid a lot less.
Yeah,
A lot less.
Lame.
a lot less. Yeah.
Lame. Stupid doctors.
I know it.
So, Jen is in today, and also to lay all the cards out on the table, Jen is my sister-in-law. So, yeah,
Shocker.
yeah, just getting family in on this now.
Yes.
But first, we got to take care of a little bit of business. We have. I wish I had something on here for a new sponsor. Guess I'll just do a clap.
That clap
How's
works, yeah.
How's that? Tweaked Audio sounds better. Tweaked Audio, they sell earbuds and headphones. They have 7 styles, 6 colors. They have mic'd and non-mic'd versions designed to sound great for music and talk, noise-reducing design, compatible with iPods, iPhones, Android devices, all MP3 players, and most phones. Get this, 33% discount for listeners,
Wow.
for our listeners. If you go to their website, tweakedaudio.com, put in our code BTEAM, just lowercase b, T-E-A-M, BTEAM, and you get free shipping worldwide. Besides 33% discount, free shipping, quality headphones, earbuds.
You can't beat
What
it.
else do you want? Go to tweakedaudio.com.
Now we're restrictive to the one country that won't play our show, right?
Andorra.
You can't send anything to
You
Andorra.
can't.
But
No, because they hate us. Jen, we have been banned in an entire country.
Oh goodness.
In an
Yeah.
entire
What have you
country.
done?
Copyright.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's a thing.
I kept playing a song that they think belongs to them.
Oh.
Please, a country owns
How
a
dare
song.
they?
As if. Amazon.com. If you have some shopping to do, go to Amazon. Or no, don't go to Amazon.
Go to our website.
Go to our website.
Right.
Go to the bottom of the page, click on the Amazon banner, and then just do your shopping the way you do.
That'll help,
we get
that'll help benefit the show.
We get a little back alley kickback on that one.
That's right.
So
Back
that
alley
helps.
deal.
I got kids that are going to go to college, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Only if they buy from Amazon,
Yeah.
through our website.
If you don't,
Otherwise,
if you don't shop on Amazon through our website,
you'll be
kids-
responsible for Jim's kids not going to college.
Thank you.
How dare you?
Thank you so much. O'BrienMedicine.com. That's where you want to go.
Please.
Yeah. You can find a lot out. I go on there. She's almost got like a little WebMD system set up.
I do.
Really.
And on my Facebook page, I try to post a lot of good articles about how to stay the most healthy. Hydration was my topic of last week. So
Yes. Now, how do they follow you on Facebook?
just O'Brien Medicine.
Okay.
And you can see my Facebook site. And people will write into me, but try to post a couple articles a week on that site.
Staying busy though, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm busy. It's good. I'm blessed.
Really informative.
Yeah.
Now, Jen, I don't tell the story very often, but a while back, several years back now, right? We're not quite a decade, I don't think, but nearly a decade ago,
Sure.
I went to Jen's practice. I had been misdiagnosed. I had a doctor who checked my stomach. I kept having these severe pains in my stomach. And he's just like, as we get older, that's we had
You hear that one a lot, don't you?
we had an MD in here on a show recently, and
Matt
we
Hintz.
talked about that. Yeah, Matthew Hintz,
Sure.
and we talked about that whole thing, and there can be some confusion there,
Sure.
you know. But I was mixed diagnosed, not by Dr. Hintz,
No.
by another doctor, and he just said, well, as we get older, which is my favorite thing, we have little things and the weight gains and weight losses, and it's just blah blah blah. Basically, I think he was just telling me my body was trying to keep up or catch up to itself or something.
Yeah.
And so he said we'll let it go for a while and to see. Well, I just kind of forgot about it, but the pain was still there, and then the pain increased, and so I went to Jen, and Jen, is it palpitated or palpated?
Yeah, palpated.
Palpated. And
This is going to be fun.
she
He's close. He's a couple credits shy of a nursing degree.
There you go. There
But,
you go. I
so-
can help you with that.
so she rubbed on my stomach.
Yes. There you go.
Okay. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, she didn't do that. She's not alert. She has phenomenal.
Yeah, because that's
bedside
not what you want to hear
No.
when somebody in the medical
manner.
profession.
Oh. And then she
Okay.
took off running, and she ran out of the room.
She's like, you know what? I've got to go.
Oh my.
I do have a story about horrible bedside manner, but I'm not going to go World Wide Web on you here. I'll stick with this one right now.
Yeah.
But she said, okay, there's something going on in there. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to send you to this guy, blah, blah, blah. Went to that guy, and they did almost an immediate surgery on me. I had an
Really?
umbilical hernia that was strangulated. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Big deal.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it was. It was
It
horrible.
can be very painful.
Yeah. So, Jen,
We'll call
thank
it
you.
time.
So, Jen's the
Is
reason
that potentially
I'm alive.
life threatening? I'm assuming.
Absolutely. When
Yeah.
your bowel, so a hernia is when you have a defect in your muscle wall, and so every time you bear down, your intestines are actually going outside the muscle wall. And strangulation is when that muscle wall closes back, and you're literally strangulating the intestines. So it's life threatening. It is a surgical emergency.
Yikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They wasted no time. He was like, we need to do this today or tomorrow. So
Surprise.
they did. Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Duncan.
Dr.
He's
Duncan.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome surgeon.
Thanks, Dunk.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
So in looking at your website, I was doing some research, and you have some things on there that I want to ask questions about, because I think other people might, the lay person might have questions about. You mentioned in there you have comprehensive wellness and prevention.
Sure.
What does that mean? That sounds pretty fancy, but
Yes, fancy words.
Yeah.
What that means is I treat the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. So it's not just like physical health. We also talk about emotional health. We talk about spiritual health. And I want to treat the person so they have the highest quality of life. So we're not just coming in and, giving you just a Band-Aid for treatment. We get to the root cause of the issue. And if somebody tells me that, something's impacting their life, their work, they want to play with their kids, that really creates a red flag to me. And so we need to deal with that, and we need to get them as healthy as possible. It's all about quality of health. That's really important to me. So we spend a lot of time talking about getting the best quality of health.
But we're not talking. You're not rubbing stones and
No.
amulets and stuff like that
No,
on,
and
it's
Crystals.
No,
crystals,
we do.
yeah.
Yes, nothing like that. So it's basically what the patient
Amulet.
comes in, like faith-based. Everybody has, different values. So it's important to me for the patient to be intentional about their health. So, for instance, a lot of us are very stressed right now because, we're busy and we get, we just don't really spend time with our health. And if we're not going to spend time dealing with our health, we're going to spend time and money dealing with illness. So I want to reverse that. And so we talk about just being intentional, exercise, eating well. But then when they come in and, we have something like fatigue or just lethargy and lack of motivation, we deal with the root problem there. We don't just say, here, try this. And yeah.
Right.
Sounds awesome.
And there is responsibility on the patient, isn't there?
Absolutely.
You have to do your homework.
Absolutely. And you have to be willing to change, which is hard. It's hard
Yeah.
to change and not necessarily be like disciplined like we're military or anything like that. But we come up with goals for the patient. So after every visit, the patient has goals. What is realistic that we can fit in? For instance, I can't fit in exercise 7 days a week, but I can do it a couple days a week. And then with my family, I can get it in a couple more times. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we find realistic goals to try to help them achieve their best health.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to do the work. You're not going to be able to do the work for them.
Sure.
There's no magic pill. Am I wrong? There's no
They're
magic
not
pill.
yet,
Yeah.
honestly, but people are looking for that magic pill.
Yeah, so you have to put the work in.
Absolutely.
And the doctor's
Always.
not going to do it for you. Don't blame the doctor.
Exactly.
How do you manage the same-day appointments? I saw
Yes.
that on there.
So I do offer same-day
How
appointments.
in the world are you doing that?
So what that means is I actually learned this from some previous primary care practices that I was involved with. We have a block of patient appointments that are basically frozen, is what we call, until the morning of. So patients, chronic, illness patients, they can't schedule in that block of appointments. So every morning we open those up. So when people call in, there's a set number of available appointments that they could get in early that same day.
Okay.
So ideally, people would call early. If they're calling out 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we might not have any more availability, but we have set amount of appointments, and it's different per day. I have certain days that the practice is more busy, and so like Thursdays and Fridays and Mondays are my busiest days. So we recommend calling in early.
That's your very nice way of saying call in early.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't get up at noon.
Don't delay your health,
Exactly.
people.
Yeah. Yeah, don't try to get up at noon calling in.
Don't throw a tourniquet on it and wait 12 hours.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, I could tell you stories.
Or call at 4:30. Call at 4:30. I need to get in today.
Yeah, probably can't
Well,
do
we
same
about
day
to
for
close.
that. Mhm.
Yeah.
But sure,
Yeah.
swing by.
What are some alternate therapies?
Sure.
Like you were talking about.
People come, I think a lot of people these days, I have been in practice for 17 years seeing patients. And so previously we would write lots and lots and lots of prescriptions. And then in, maybe about 2005 or so, people became much more savvy with their health. And so they were looking on WebMD, and they were very informed customers. And so medicine changed about that time. Patients would come in having an idea of what they wanted. Nowadays, people are looking for different therapies. So for instance, like supplements, some people want to talk supplements only and they don't want to discuss medications. Some people want to do essential oils. And they don't want to do medications. Some people want to do therapy, that kind of thing. And so you really have to be moldable to the patient. And so
Yeah.
I'll talk to them. Say I'm seeing, let's just make a simple example, somebody for a sinus infection. So we can talk, this is what I would prescribe antibiotic-wise, and for your congestion, we could do these essential oils, we could do these supplements. And so we give them choices.
I've always wondered about that. You know how they have on a commercial says ask your doctor about Cialis.
Yes.
I don't know why that sticks in my head.
That's the one that's popping out to you.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm just snatching out of the air here.
Not Augmentin or
Yeah, do you-
amoxicillin. We're
Yeah,
talking
not all
Cialis.
your typical stuff. Cialis for some reason.
Let's go with Rogaine.
Okay, Rogaine. Rogaine.
No, or something like that. Something that they've seen on one of these commercials that they say ask your doctor about. And us OCD folks that have that WebMD mindset, because I'm always convinced that I have cancer. Everything I have is cancer. If I go in because
That's scary.
I got a
stubbed your
toothache,
toe.
It's tooth
brain
cancer.
cancer.
Yeah, that's the doctor's going to find it. I just know.
That's how it happens.
It's been hiding out, and they're eventually with one of these tests they're going to find it. I just know.
You're
it.
gonna get the Jim.
But-
We need to talk.
But that's my mindset. And if I see one of those things on television,
Sure.
have you had to talk people out of that?
Oh.
When I come in and I go,
All the time.
no, I'm convinced I need you to prescribe
Absolutely.
Cialis.
100%.
See, I can't stop. I can't.
We can go
I
with
need-
Cialis. We
Can
can
we-
go with Cialis.
Like, can we talk after the show?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Mhm. Absolutely, because patients will come in and they'll see there are a lot of weight loss drugs right now that are popular and they're being advertised on TV. And so they will come in and ask for that. And I prescribe weight loss drugs, but there are certain reasons and contraindications why a person maybe can't be on this medicine, but they could try a different one. And so we have to kind of talk through that. And all the time people ask for different medications. And sometimes they get them confused. I was just thinking of Levitra, which is like Cialis versus Lexapro. I've had some older women come in and ask for Levitra. Well, that's not the drug they need. Yeah, that's not the drug they need. They need Lexapro instead.
No.
So, and then my job is to do screening to make sure, do they really need this and is this warranted? And then is this the best choice for them? So a lot of education with that.
That's good, though.
Never because you're not really a super confrontational person, but your bedside manner. I was going to touch on that.
I can be assertive when
yeah,
sure.
I think so.
You have to be, I think, as a
as
person
a provider,
yeah.
Exactly, because people will come in and I've had crazy stories where people want their drugs, they want some Xanax.
Seekers.
I've had stalkers. We've had to get the police involved before.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
That sounds interesting.
crazy.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of stories about that.
Yeah.
Over in Indiana where we practice, I practiced with an internist, a female internist, and her last name was at the beginning of the alphabet. So, and this was 2005 to 2009, 10. So, we didn't have as much easy, quick access to the internet. So because her name was at the beginning of the alphabet, we got a lot of drugs.
In the phone book.
Absolutely.
It was listed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, they would go A, B, C, and they would check.
Oh, yeah. And a doper was just like the first one they saw.
Absolutely.
That's who I'm going to.
We'll go to that one, and then
Yeah.
we'll try the next one. And so we've had to call the police before because people won't leave the office. I have had
smokes.
Here in when I practiced in Worthington, I had a guy who stated he was going into the military and he wanted Xanax and Percocet, and I would not prescribe that. It wasn't appropriate for him. There was nothing medically that he needed, and we couldn't prove that he had been on anything like this before. So he started stalking me, and at that time we wore pagers. We don't have pagers anymore, but at the time, and I mean, hundreds of pages in an evening, hundreds. And so the police took all the records, the phone records, and they actually walked me to and from the office for a couple months.
Wow.
It got kind of crazy. Yeah.
Good.
And that was Worthington. That's a nice area. That's
sure.
a really, really nice area. So, yes, lots of stories. I had a patient who jumped the counter. She was actually a psych patient. And thank goodness there was this drug rep who played professional baseball. And he was sitting out in the waiting room. And so thank goodness he was there, but she jumped the counter and threatened us. And and she was threatening the government and everything else. And we had to call the cops on her. And so
amazing.
It can get a little crazy.
Shit gets real in the medical industry.
It does. People want their drugs. It's kind of crazy.
That's insane.
I can see where it happens though. I back years ago,
you jumped a counter too.
Ruptured a disc, nearly. I had a ruptured, a bulging disc in my back, and at the time I was prescribed oxycodone.
Sure.
And so and they gave me a bottle of 100.
Yeah,
a huge bottle, and I was only supposed to take one like every 4 hours.
Sure.
Well, at first I was okay with it. It was fine. And then as I got used to them, after about day 3, it was like, I was like, looking at my watch. Oh, like 3 more minutes. It's going to be hour 4. And then I convinced myself. I was like, well, you're a big guy. So I'd imagine maybe one every 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and self-prescribe. So maybe one every 2 hours instead. And it did become a problem. When I ran out of that bottle of 100, I went back to the doctor, even though the pain wasn't as severe. I don't think, I convinced myself it was. So I went back to that doctor and we had a talk, and he's like, what you're showing now is he's like, you're a police officer. He's like, so, and he gave me a little lesson. He's like, when you're dealing with an addict, you might want to keep this conversation we had in mind,
Sure.
because right now I think you're coming to me trying to secure this oxycodone, and I'm not thinking you need it.
Right.
And that really,
And
it was
that
like
can
getting
happen to
punched in the nose. I was like,
Yeah.
gosh, he's right.
That
I
can
just
happen
tried
the
to get
best of
drugs.
people. I mean, it happens.
Super
it can
strong.
happen to our parents. It can happen to grandparents
Yeah.
because after surgery, when you're truly in pain and you need the medication, research says most likely we won't get addicted to medicine when we are really, really significantly in pain.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, we start treating ahead of the pain.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be in extreme pain. So we start taking medication. It can happen to the best of people. I've seen it all walks of life.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
It is. It is. It really is. And we have some parameters that are put in place. We have it's called OARS, OAARS in Indiana. It's called Inspect. And so every single time we prescribe anything that's scheduled, it is law. As of April 1st of last year, it's law that we have to pull the OARS and just check. And so what that does is it protects all of us because we're making sure that, yes, the person's truly using the medication and not selling it. And because over in Indiana, I had a patient, really, really lovely lady, had a great rapport with her. We talked wonderfully together. She had migraine headaches. The only thing that tipped me off, this was years ago, and an Inspect had just come out. She said her brother-in-law, who was a PA, would not prescribe her migraine headache medicine. And I thought, that's interesting. So I went and pulled her Inspect, and she had to be selling. She was getting more than 800 pills in every 2 weeks from multiple different offices, going to multiple different pharmacies. She was, 150, 170-pound lady. There's no way she could have taken that medication. Okay. And but you hear people's stories, and it does make you empathetic to them, because oftentimes they get themselves in a mess, and you can understand their story.
Yeah. And I bet a lot of people would be surprised in the medical field, the physicians themselves who
absolutely. Absolutely. I worked with a lovely, lovely internist. And yes, she lost her license. And it was really, really sad.
After all that work,
know.
after all the struggle and the
I
work.
think that we actually have to be super vigilant just to, stay away. I had shoulder surgery and I was scared to death to take anything just because, we see this every day and we hear things and
Yeah, I thought it was odd too. I sprained my ankle once and they gave me a bunch of Vicodin and I was like, dude, I can take Tylenol for that and I'll be just fine.
Aleve, exactly.
So I didn't fill the prescription, but I just thought it was super weird. I was like, why am I getting...
How long ago was that?
Maybe 2 years ago.
Oh,
so
because
it was recent.
They're really on top of it.
They're trying to be really on top of it.
If you don't have a bone sticking out, they're going to tell you to take some
Aleve. That's what I was like super. It was super odd, because I had wisdom teeth removed a little bit ago, and I got the 800 mil ibuprofen.
Sure.
Which that stuff works really well.
It does.
For me anyway, I noticed. But I was like, after taking the ibuprofen, I was like, I've never had any like major injuries or things. So I don't.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
I don't know that. What the Oxy or Vicodin is going to do for me, but the ibuprofen seemed to work wonders. So I don't know.
It's always good to start with something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's like my wife Hannah. She doesn't take anything for anything ever.
Yeah.
She had 2 of our 3 boys completely drug free. Now we didn't go in thinking like that. We're not that. I'm the kind of person. Well, obviously, because I just told the story. If I'm hurting, dope me out, put me out. Put me out.
That's easy, yeah. Just knock me out.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you want.
I want to get knocked out for a teeth cleaning, but she's not like that. She doesn't take anything ever. And so when she does take ibuprofen, it does. It knocks it right out of her.
Absolutely.
It does what it's
designed to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's get back to weight loss. Why is it so difficult for people over 40?
That's actually kind of a magic number, it seems like, unfortunately. Well, our metabolism definitely slows down. And what you were saying earlier, I don't ever like that to be an excuse of, it's just because you're getting older or it's just because you have some extra weight to lose, because there are many, many providers around town and, all over the state that will just dismiss a patient's complaints and even really significant complaints due to weight. Often there's something more behind that. But our metabolism slows down. Also, we are busy with our family life, with our work life, and we don't make the time or have the time that we used to exercise. A lot of us, including myself, still have this mentality that, I'm like 23, 25 years of age, and I can, I don't have the exercise behind me that I did when I was that young, but I'm trying to live like that. And then I do weekend warrior kind of things. I mean, even extreme. We've done the warrior dash and we've done half marathons and that kind of stuff. Extreme exercise, but not consistently. We're not doing it on a daily basis. And so all of this works against us, unfortunately, for causing weight gain. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wrestled in school and lifted weights all through my 20s and all that stuff. And then once that slowed down and even stopped, I still maintain the eating.
Agreed. That's hard to change. And you've probably heard that being sedentary is like the new smoking. Most of us sit all day long with our work, and they're comparing that to even smoking, which is really, really significant.
That's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm, it is.
Well, you know how they say, like if you stop smoking or if you just go out and take a walk, how that immediately affects your blood pressure, like immediately. Is there anything like that? Like, let's say put that in weight loss terms.
Sure.
Over 24, 48, 72 hours, are there immediate benefits to saying, okay, that's it. I'm not crash diet, not fasting, which is something else I'd like to get into, but what are the benefits of just doing it right? If I were to eat like I was in the hospital, you know how they measure everything out in 24, 48, 72 hours. What are the immediate benefits?
Yes, absolutely. There's research, and this is based off European models, that if we go on a simple walk after we eat dinner, it really lowers our blood sugar and it helps us use our insulin better. It's like an insulin sensitizer. So it keeps our weight more stable, but also it helps us prevent diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And so a simple walk, and that doesn't have to be, marathon kind of pace or anything like that, but even a simple walk, 30 minutes a day, is really extremely helpful. And then there's another really good article that I refer to often. The title of it is something like exercise in and of itself is really no use. But what the point is, when we exercise and we're even real intense exercise and say we're burning anywhere from 250 to 500 calories, is that really enough in the scheme of things? 250 calories hit and miss 3 times a week. The point of the article is what it's doing for us the rest of the 23 hours, because it's increasing our resting metabolic rate. So for instance, if I had exercised this morning and you both had not, I would be burning more calories just sitting here talking to you throughout the rest of the day than if I had not. So it's all about increasing that resting metabolic rate, which is basically our metabolism when we're sedentary, when we're not digesting our food. That's the definition of resting metabolic. Right.
So it's significant enough to measure and...
Yeah, we can measure the resting metabolic rate. And so it's really important to keep that as high as possible. And being hydrated, building muscle through weight building exercises.
Take a drink.
You haven't opened yours yet.
Come on. This is number 2. This is number 2 for me.
Let's have a drink.
Okay. Why is it me?
Come on.
Why is everybody...
Because all of ours are open.
Come on. Come on.
We'll have a drink.
The pinky up.
No, that's refreshing.
That is refreshing.
What is that?
Refreshing.
Deer Park.
Water is so good for us.
It's not Pepsi, but it's
no
okay.
Max.
Nope. Well, is there a perfect diet plan? Let's talk about fads first. Let's talk about low to no carb. Let's talk about paleo. All those that you're aware of. If you could just touch on a little bit.
So something that I talk a lot about, and I've done weight loss. I've focused on weight loss for about the last 5 to 6 years in practice, but I've treated weight loss all throughout, my career. Anything that we do that is not realistic and sustainable is not going to work. So these fad diets, I have them all on my bookshelf. I've tried them all, the 17-day diet. And yes, people will lose weight with that.
Sure.
I mean, you can drop 5 pounds, 7 pounds, 10 pounds, but you'll gain all of the weight back and more with those fad diets. And going back to the resting metabolic rate, those are kind of working against us, because if we go down to like a 500 or 800 calorie diet, we don't really want to go less than 1,200 unless it's really under the supervision of a provider. And even then, we kind of get into some starvation mode. So we want to do a lifestyle. I like paleo. I like some of those lower carbs, high protein diets, but everybody's very specific. So for instance, what we do at O'Brien Medicine is I assess the person, and some people need a low glycemic index, meaning they have to really watch their sugars in their food, and that's even fruits and starchy vegetables and those kind of things. Some people need to work on their metabolism, eating 5 small meals a day. Some people need to work on more on activity. Some people need to work on the low carb kind of. So there's a huge variety, and you have to be very specific about what works per person, and it's very individualized.
Oh, really? So just because you see a fat guy walk through the door, that doesn't mean
not at all.
This is gonna be effective.
Exactly. So if a person, I can throw medication at him, and I can give him a great nutrition and a dietary plan. But if they have, if they're close to diabetes, we need to work on glycemic index of foods, and that's what's going to be successful for them. Myself, I have to work on my metabolism, eating 3 to 5 small meals a day. That's what is very successful. And other people, everyone's very different, and we have to figure that out and individualize. That's how we find success.
Okay. So, well, wouldn't it be that way just because somebody eats right, like a vegetarian? I've seen fat, pasty vegetarians.
Well, yeah. Just because there's potato chips are vegan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
So you can just pound those all day, and then you're
Exactly.
just consuming nothing but salt and fat generally,
Yeah.
right? So it doesn't matter what you do. You can be
Exactly.
horrible with your diet.
And it's all in moderation. I mean,
Right.
everything is about moderation. And also just getting more active. When we get to the age of about 40, exercise doesn't do for us what it used to do in the 20s and 30s. We're really not losing a lot of weight with exercise. It's really good for us from a cardiovascular standpoint, pulmonary standpoint, prevention of a lot of chronic illness, but it is based on nutrition when we get. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. Yeah. When I finally learned that and realized that personally, that I could not exercise enough to cover my foods, that was hard, but that's the key.
The first person that makes a healthy pizza for you, they're gonna corner the market.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Low carb.
No, it tastes exactly the same, but for some reason it's good now. You know, that dude's gonna be a billionaire.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or female.
Sure.
That person will be a billionaire.
Well, because I've done it before, but I've recently started again the low carb situation. Now
I like that.
Am I going to fail?
I like that for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it gives us more energy, which is really good for us. It helps us build lean muscle because we're eating more protein. A lot of us feel like we've had brain fog and just really tired when we eat too many carbs and feel bloated and just kind of don't feel great. So I personally like to recommend that kind of program for certain people. Some people we have to watch are starchy, like the fruits and the vegetables, but across the board, it's more grains, really limiting the amount of grains. And if we eat any grains, really having them be whole food, that's important.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I could eat a cup of rice right now, like white rice or a baked potato, and that's it for the day. I'm so bloated. So that starch, is that what it is? It's the starch that just.
Yeah, our body doesn't digest.
I'm sick
those.
after it.
Exactly.
I have if I do that, because I intermittent fast, so I can only eat 10 hours a day generally. If I have like a lot of carbohydrates and go to sleep, when I wake up, I feel hungover.
Yeah.
Like I've been drinking.
Yes. My husband said that the other day. Headache, feel hungover, just really tired.
Yeah, like the day after Thanksgiving kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It feels just like a hangover. You're
it's
right.
rough to get back in the swing of things for the day. Yeah.
And it sometimes will take a day or two to get back into the swing of things when we've eaten a lot of carbs. It's hard to break that cycle.
Well, let's talk about what Cory just mentioned, the fasting. That's a thing right now.
It sure is.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
People struggle with their weight because oftentimes people are binging and eating a lot of calories at the end of the day. So I've had people that eat as much as 12 to 1,200 to 2,000 calories
No,
from.
I'm sure I fit in there. I'm sure I fit in
There's
that.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
I'm
It's
sure I
easy to
fit.
do for
A
me.
lot of people
Yeah.
do. And so it's, we reward ourselves because we've done well for the day. We've had a hard day. And so it's comforting.
Oh, any excuse for me.
Absolutely.
Any excuse. It's Tuesday.
And sometimes
Yeah.
Let's crack that
sometimes
ice cream
we're
open.
famished,
It's
you know?
rainy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Absolutely.
And
I
so
know I do.
when we fast like that, that's really good for us. And a lot of people believe in something like a 12-hour fast, at least. And even a fasting, there's some research right now about fasting 1 day a week to basically
Yeah.
kind of help us keep our weight stable. So interval training is pretty popular right now. Fasting is popular too. And there's really good research with that. I really think most of us should do at least a 12-hour fast, like 8 to 8, and try not to eat so much in the evening because that's where most of my patients really struggle.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's helped me a lot. I've lost probably at least 10 to 15 pounds.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Now, I have read, though, that because you're always reading something new
And
about,
there's so much.
yeah,
It's controversial, isn't it?
and about the eating at different times. And there are some camps that say if you ate your, what'd you say, 1,200 to 2,000, if you ate that all at once, and that was all the eating you did for the day, that's no different than spreading it out through the day.
And that's where I'm kind of getting at. It's based on per person.
Yeah.
Most of us can't do that and lose weight. If we have to split up our meals throughout the day, because what's happening are we're having these peaks and valleys of glucose and our body's not covering it with the insulin well. And so that's also when we can get really, really fatigued. But we want to, most of us, and it has to be tailored per the person, but most of us, if we eat smaller, like 5 times a day, we're keeping our blood sugars more even, and then our body can cover that better and use the glucose, the fuel that we're eating correctly, as opposed to having these huge spikes, 1,200, 1,500 calories in one setting and then not eating anything the rest of the day.
Right.
That is more for a younger patient. I don't have anybody in my practice who's 40 and older who can eat like that and lose weight.
Like I just described. Like,
One meal a day.
like an
Like
alligator.
a high calorie 1 meal a day.
Eat a gazelle for the week.
He's like a gator. What's going to happen if we don't address? I'm already learning that. It's catching up now because I was fine for a while, but now
that's a
it's
very
starting
good
to catch
question.
up. Now it's getting scary.
It can be scary. We have kind of acute issues, which are like pain. I mean, even carrying around 10 more pounds going up the stairs, we can feel it.
Let me give an example of that, Jen. I now have developed plantar fasciitis.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly.
And Dr. Hance is the one that's
I've heard that before. What is that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so basically the arches of our feet, we have these plantar fascia ligaments. They're supposed to keep our arch up, but due to additional weight, those ligaments are having to work really hard, and we get these micro tears in them.
Oh my.
Horrible pain.
It is horrible
especially
pain.
like when you first step out of bed and it's like, oh my goodness. Yes, I've had it in the past. It's horrible pain.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Yeah, so even 10 pounds, our arches are trying to stay up and the ligaments are working hard. So something like that, joint pain, just the fatigue that people experience when they have even a little bit of additional weight. And so those are acute. We see those pretty quickly. But then as the weight is on longer, we will have cardiovascular issues. That's where we have to worry about hypertension, and we have to worry about cardiovascular disease, atherosclerosis, looking at, heart disease, prevention of strokes. We have sleep apnea problems, which sleep apnea is very common. It's kind of an underdiagnosed condition. So sleep apnea, of course, diabetes, the list goes on and on. But also chronic illness like cancer. I mean, so something that I try to not play around with. Yeah, it's like we want to eat healthy and we want to eat real whole foods for prevention of scary stuff like cancer. Atherosclerosis is scary, and cardiovascular disease and prevention of stroke, that's all important.
I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
Plaque buildup in our heart that's can be causing a heart
Yeah,
attack
right,
or a stroke or anything like that. Yes. But cancer also. If we eat well and keep our weight down, we are helping prevent cancer.
Wow.
See,
I could just
You could prevent
check
cancer.
off that list. Yeah, I could.
I'll help you with that.
Yeah, thanks.
You know somebody.
Yeah, yeah, I think you do.
I also noticed on your website, and I'm just wondering how you make this happen.
Sure.
You don't accept insurance. Now, has that been a positive experience? I mean, since you
Sure.
don't have to sit on the phone and argue.
Right,
We talked to Dr. Hintz about that.
How that can be
And
kind
he
of a
spends
pain.
a lot of time.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I've been in practice for 17 years. And when we decided to open O'Brien Medicine, this is something that we honestly argued about, my husband and I did, for quite some time. This is very popular on the East and West Coast, and it's very popular in some big cities to make a patient's healthcare dollars very visible. So, for instance, I had to have a workup the other day looking at an ulcer. Oh my goodness, my bills. You don't have any idea. And then you get the envelope and it's like, oh my goodness, we have good insurance and this is how much it's going to be. My husband struggles with his feet and just bills upon bills upon bills, but you don't have an idea of how much it's going to cost. With O'Brien Medicine, we're very upfront with the cost of everything. So this will be the cost of the office visit. All my costs are listed down there. I will tell you the cost of your labs to the penny. So when you go for lab work, you should expect that it's $74. And I actually have some labs, like I won't name them, but I have some labs that are giving really, really good prices to patients. I can tell you the cost of your radiological exam. And I have some really good connections with people. I can get a lot of x-rays for $50, point of sale. So
Wow.
This is about being
Okay.
affordable for people.
Sure.
It's about knowing exactly, we're not surprising people with the cost. And then also because we do have a direct pay practice, it's called direct pay, meaning that the patient pays then. I show them how to submit their insurance. Okay, so on the back of the card, it says submit claims here. I give them what's called a super bill. I show them how to submit, and most commercial insurances give back 75 to 80% of the office visit cost. And so they just get a check.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I come to you and
Mhm.
you've gone out and already secured labs and
Absolutely.
places that do x-rays and that
Mhm.
sort of thing
Mhm.
where I'm already going to get this discounted rate because I'm
Absolutely.
paying cash,
Absolutely.
and then I could also turn around and turn that into my
Exactly.
insurance.
Mhm.
That's
You
pretty
got
cool.
something going
Flexible
there.
spending, health savings. I mean, we can use all that, but I'm considered an out-of-network provider, and most
Right.
commercial insurances offer 75 to 80% for out-of-network providers. Also, all of the visits go towards the deductible too. So, if we have a $1,000 or higher deductible, the office visits will go towards the deductible.
That's awesome.
That
it's
is
really-
awesome.
Yeah,
It's
I've never heard of
good.
that. That's really cool.
No,
And
yeah, it
this
really is.
Like I said, it's becoming more popular. It's patients love it because they know exactly how much it's going to cost. There's no surprises. Also, because our model is like this, I spend a lot more time with the patient. I can spend an hour with the patient. I mean, when's the last time you were seeing your primary care provider for more than 10 minutes, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about my doctor right now. It's not much more than that,
Exactly.
unless I have an issue, which is rare right now. But yeah, you know.
Mhm. Sure. But used to, when I was doing internal medicine, we'd have to see 28 to 32 patients a day, and the numbers just kept on going up. Yes. And so, that works out to be, we were scheduled 15-minute appointments, and that's across the board. I mean, that's every hospital group, primary care.
Industry standard.
It
you'd
is
say.
a standard, exactly. And so I schedule my appointments either half an hour to an hour, and it's based on the patient's need. And so we spend lots of time. And when you spend that much time with a patient, you uncover things.
Yep.
I uncover like somebody who went to many different urgent cares. And at the end of the visit, I was like, let's get a urine on you. I'm a little concerned about diabetes. Absolutely. Newly diagnosed diabetic. I mean, I can tell you story
Wow.
upon story, but it took that time to get to, all the different issues.
Yeah, I've heard that. At least, like, I've heard other providers talk about being able to far better provide care the more information they're able to draw from somebody,
Absolutely.
which is tough if you have 15 minutes because that's a lot of information to try to gather.
Exactly. And usually that's, they're rooming you and everything. So you might have like 7 minutes. And
Right, yeah.
You're
Right.
trying to remember all of your different things. Something else that's kind of important is a lot of offices these days are only taking, you can give us 1 to 3 complaints. And if you have more than that,
Right.
you need to make another appointment. And they do that for insurance billing reasons. I know why they do that, and I've had to do that in the past at different places. that's not O'Brien medicine. We want to treat the root issue, and all of these things. The more time you take, oftentimes they come together, and you get a diagnosis, and it's just paints a picture.
Yeah.
You know what? That is, that is very true, Jen, because I have gone to the doctor, again, not Dr. Hintz, a doctor from my past, with with like a wrist problem. I had an injured wrist. I went there to talk about that. And then I said, and you know what? I think I might. Now, this wasn't mentioned during the phone call when I made the appointment.
Sure.
But while I was there, I'm like, well, I'm talking to him.
Absolutely.
I might also be dealing with it was like an ingrown toenail or something. I think it was just something that was really hurting. And yeah, he wouldn't even look at it.
No.
Wouldn't do it.
Yep. And that's
so okay. Well, you can schedule. You can come back in. We'll take a look at that.
And that's hard for patients. Getting off work and taking the time and waiting in a waiting room.
Yeah.
That's also something I try. I really value patients' time, so I stay on time. They should never have to wait more than 5 minutes. So it's really super important to me.
Wow.
I very much respect their time.
Now, is this something? Is your practice based on just your experience of practices before, or have you, is someone else doing this?
There are people, there's a whole society, there's a whole group of people that are doing this. And so yes, we get journals and I'm part of all that, especially what's called the direct pay practice. But also the model is based out of how I want to provide better care for patients over the last 15 years. And I do have a varied past. I kind of wondered how this is all going to come together. I've worked in urgent care. I've worked in primary care for many, many years. Over in Indiana, we actually had internal medicine / aesthetics, where we were doing Botox and fillers and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
And then when I moved, I'm also a professor, and I've done that long term, 10 plus years. So that keeps me abreast of the newest research, constantly. But then my last position was one of my last positions. I was the manager of a health, one of the largest research and development companies in the world. And so biological and chemical exposures and emergency response for quite a few different sites actually around the country. So I was wondering how all this was going to come together. Like in my career, I was like, okay, I've done all these different things. I've loved all of the jobs differently, but O'Brien Medicine incorporates it all. Customer service, I learned really well from the aesthetic business. And so we greet people and standing up and, shake their hands. We actually, it's kind of like a spa-like environment my office is.
Okay.
You can see that on the website. So we offer them coffee and tea, and there's relaxing music. I don't want people to be nervous. Everybody has this white coat syndrome where their blood pressure is more elevated and they're so nervous about coming to their doctor.
And that's a real thing because
we just talked about it. Yeah. I don't have it, but
I do.
Most people do. And so very different. You're offered coffee, tea.
By the time, because like you said, when you said
I think I might have to switch providers.
Sounds good. Come on over.
You're in the lobby. Okay. You're in the lobby. And then they come and, usually just grunt at you to tell you to come back. So you go back in the room and you sit there. So in the lobby, I'm panicking. And then in the room, when I'm actually in the room, I'm looking at all the tools and all the equipment that he's going to use to find the cancer. And I'm just, by the time he walks in the door, I am just about in a sweaty panic. I am about to shut down. And then they take your vital signs right then, at the worst moment. Yeah. We do things differently. I talk to the patient and we get all of the information. Okay. So I do the full history, which might take 20 minutes for a person to tell me everything. And then I do their vital signs right before I do their physical exam. So we've had time to kind of have fun and converse and talk about the good and the bad. And so usually their blood pressure is much more accurate. Wow.
That's really cool.
It is.
Cool.
It really is.
Yeah. And I'm also, something that's really important to me is the patient hears from me. I've worked at offices where if you don't hear about your lab results, just assume they're normal,
Yeah, that's always weird too. I'm like, well, I kind of want to know, man.
Exactly. Well, I paid for this, number one. Yeah. I paid for it, so I need to know the numbers.
Let me tell you what happened. I've got a story for everything. But this is that is a
I'm
good
starting
point.
to see why the white coat syndrome's creeping in on you. You're like, every time I go to the doctor, something horrible happens.
Experience. Come and see me.
I went to the doctor for something, and then I had something to do at our church, like on a Saturday morning. I went to the doctor on a Friday, went to the church on a Saturday morning, and I got a message, an electronic message on my phone that said, "You have a message from your doctor's office
On a Saturday.
on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Call this number." So I call. I'm like, I was just getting ready to go up on stage and do something at the church.
Sure.
And so I'm like, oh no! So I have to put that away. That's on my mind. That's just going through my head.
The
And so
only thing you can think
finally-
about. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
of
it.
course.
That's it. And so when I get done with that, I call this number, and it's just it's a commercial for like a hearing aid thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I called. They gave me a number to call, and it was just a stupid commercial.
Oh my goodness.
You've recently
But see
had
how
a blah blah blah.
panicked that made you? That
I
is-
was in a panic,
Yeah.
and I did
Sure.
complain. I don't complain about much.
Yeah.
I did complain about that. I'm like,
Agreed.
I want if there's a list I can be taken off of.
Sure.
Don't put me through that just
Yeah.
because I went to a doctor's appointment.
Exactly.
Right.
No, that's
Yeah.
not okay.
No,
Mm-hmm.
You're not even deaf.
yeah,
You know.
but yeah,
Hearing
getting
aids.
that I don't know. Going to the doctor, and then getting a phone call from the doctor. I'm not sure I'm on board.
And I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but I have personally, where they try to call you and you've given them every number. You know, they have your cell phone, they have your work.
Yep.
They try one number, and it's usually the home, which of course you're not at because it's
Yep.
4:30 on a Friday,
Yeah.
and then you can't get a hold of them until Monday. My patients have access to me. They can always reach me, text, email, always. And so that should never, ever happen because that does induce panic. And then you're
Yeah.
scared to death. Do I have cancer or do I, is everything normal? I have no idea.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but you call either way.
I always 100% call. I could write a book about bad stories where people
Sure.
slipped through the cracks. Yeah, we don't do that. You get testing like I do women's health too, women's and men's health. So, if we have a test like a pap smear, if we have blood work, any kind of chest x-ray, you will know as soon as I know. As soon as I get the report, I'm going to call you up personally and we talk through it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's really important. And
It
that's,
is. It
that's
is.
I want to provide better. I want to do the best I
You
can.
are.
It
clearly.
sounds like it. I mean, it sounds super appealing
Right.
to somebody. I don't really go ever to the
Sure.
doctor's office very much, like once a year, for insurance
Mhm.
purposes.
Mhm.
But that sounds very pleasant.
Exactly.
I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a new baby now,
Oh yeah, I will say that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
but we have kids and we have all
That's-
that
yeah.
stuff. So you're
That's
gonna
a lot of trips.
you're gonna go to the
That's
doctor.
a lot of trips.
It is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mhm.
I will say
Absolutely.
that I've been to the doctor's office more in the last year and a half than
I'm sure.
I've ever been maybe in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
O'BrienMedicine.com. Get on there, take a look around, see this.
Thank you.
Can you just? What are some of the things that you
Mhm.
that you do? I saw that you.
In my spare time, or
No.
Avid soccer player.
Yeah.
yes,
I
can't you
dabble.
tell?
Yeah. No, I mean in
Oh,
your
sure,
practice.
Sure.
And-
Okay. So, wellness. So what we talk about, I do physicals on people.
Yeah,
So with
yeah,
sports
physicals. I
physicals.
saw
yeah,
that.
Physicals, college
That's
physicals,
a big one.
male and female physicals, pap smears, men's health. I do the full gamut of what would be in primary care. And then a focus, like I said, on the weight loss. But whatever, a lot of people are coming in with kind of undiagnosed chronic conditions like fatigue and joint pain. And we slightly talked about this before the show started. But for instance, I'm checking people for Lyme disease. We have this constellation of symptoms that if they have checked, and all of these in and of themselves kind of sound mostly benign. For instance, like some memory fog, can't quite come up with my words as clearly as I used to be able to. Joint pain, tiredness, I'm not sleeping well. There's, it's 3 pages of a list of symptoms. And individually, those aren't, but together it kind of gives us an index of suspicion of something. And so I've actually diagnosed quite a bit of Lyme disease in the last year.
That's amazing.
And that's big
Mhm.
for this.
Scary.
That's big for this area too.
Yep.
Rural,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're out in the middle of nowhere
Right.
here.
And for those of us who have liked to camp growing up,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so just as a little thing here, the CDC has out 3 different types of prevention, sprays and everything like DEET and some harsh things. I was just looking on their website this past week. Skin So Soft, those kind of products do protect us against ticks. And so I would recommend something like that. And the DEET products do as well. But prevention, even for Lyme disease patients a non, because right now the statistics are saying it only takes 15 minutes for the tick to be embedded, and you
See, I didn't know that when you said that, because
It's
to me
brand
it was
new.
always like it's got to be on there for like days, you know,
and
weeks.
only 20% of people get that bullseye rash. And
Yeah.
so people are like, well, if you don't have the bullseye rash, you're totally fine. Absolutely not. You need to be seen. If you have a tick embedded, I definitely would get checked out.
Yeah, we had the weirdest thing ever for my kid. He got one in his ear when he was like
Oh.
sub-1,
Really?
which, you know, my wife freaked out.
Of
course.
course.
But me, I'm like, it's a tick. So
Yeah.
we got it out. You know,
Yeah,
we went
it
to the
wasn't, like,
doc, and
embedded.
she
It
was
was
like, you know, it might take a while, but keep an eye on it because
Sure.
he could definitely develop symptoms, which she hasn't. But
Good.
because I caught it pretty quick. I mean, it was like we woke up, he looked in his ear because that's where it was at.
Mhm.
So it was in there. I don't even know how long it was on.
Sure,
but
sure.
It wasn't very long.
Exactly.
But crazy to think about, you know.
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Now I'm like, crap.
Well, what are some of the symptoms? Lyme disease specific.
So patients can have a variety of symptoms. I have some patients that have cardiac symptoms, for instance, like lots of palpitations, and that might be their only symptom. Joint pain, tiredness, memory fog. Memory fog's kind of significant, where they just can't think clearly and they're really struggling. Now they might not, they might be totally functional at work, but having a conversation or trying to have a conversation on a higher level is really difficult and frustrating to them. That's a big, big symptom of Lyme.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
You've got it.
Yep.
You've got full
I'm
blown
pretty
Lyme.
sure. I'm foggy.
Brain fog.
I'm always hurting.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you were checked for
I'm
a tick?
lethargic.
Take your shirt off.
Yeah,
I can't.
We can do a check
We're
right
gonna
now.
we're gonna do the chimpanzee method, man. I'm just gonna sit there and just start eating stuff on you. All right.
No, thank you.
This is the Bad Monkey Studio.
Yeah. Wow, that's something though, because we've already pulled ticks off our kids,
Of course.
and I think it's a weather thing because
Absolutely.
what
Now,
did we have snow this year? Did we?
Nothing significant.
Well, we're getting it now. It's middle of May.
Yeah.
I know. it's
37
colder than it's
degrees.
been.
I had to turn on the heat in here this morning.
It's ridiculous, man.
It
It's
is.
ridiculous.
It was 1,000 degrees 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
80 degrees
Wow.
and then 20.
Well, I do have a couple questions
Okay,
from listeners,
Okay.
if you will.
Yes.
One,
Do, do.
Maud wants to know, why are yawns contagious?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Well, I think yawns are, we actually relax when we are yawning. You know, it's kind of like obviously we do it because we need more oxygen. That's truly the medical reason why we yawn, is because we're lacking. We have a little bit too much carbon dioxide. We need to expel that and get in more oxygen. But I also think that, I mean, this is not medical at all. This is my opinion. I think that they're contagious because it's kind of, don't you feel better when you yawn? And I think it's just, you know, in our head. I mean, we don't even like realize what we're doing, but they are contagious.
So we relax because you relaxed enough to yawn.
Yes, and then
You're
you
relaxed.
yawn.
See,
and
that's why it doesn't affect
subconsciously-
me. I don't, because
Yeah.
you know why?
You never
you
relax.
No,
yawn?
I've never relaxed one, and it's because when you're yawning, I know I'm going to smell it in a second. I'm going to smell something in a second. Something's coming my way, so
Really?
I just lock up.
What if
I
it's
close
beautiful
up.
mint?
Nope,
You know?
no,
No.
I shut
Never
it
is.
down.
Yes. Do you have a sensitive
I-
smell?
I
Do you-
just-
a really
oh,
He's
sensitive
sensitive
nose?
to everything,
Everything.
especially feet.
Feet. I can't do any feet
Oh,
stuff.
my
I couldn't.
goodness.
That's why I had to quit medical school, isn't
Yes.
it, Corey?
Yes.
Feet.
That's what feet.
That's
The
what
We
foot
got to
block.
the- We got to
Well-
the feet portion,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I gotta go.
This has been real.
Yeah.
You
See you
know?
later.
It is, yeah. I can't.
Mhm.
Odors. I can watch anything.
Yes. but
Except for
odors bother
snakes.
you.
Speaking of which,
Mhm.
have you seen any of the? I don't know why I'm pointing at you like this. Have
I
you
know where you're going
seen
with this.
any of the Dr. Pimple Popper?
Well,
videos?
I have not seen them.
Her name's Karen Lee,
Okay,
I believe.
But I have heard of them, and I've had many of my own
Oh.
experiences with opening boils and
Come on.
yeah, carbuncles and sebaceous cysts. Yes, I've had many.
Do you video them?
No, due to patient
Oh.
confidentiality.
Yeah. See,
We
now,
don't
how does she?
Just
video.
gotta blur out their face.
She has a big thing at the beginning,
Sure.
like a warning thing
Okay.
with lots of
It's
legalese
graphic and stuff. And
yeah.
I'm sure that they would have to sign something saying
You
that they
probably-
Well, they never show their face.
Sure.
Ever.
Mhm.
Now they go back and forth talking
Yes.
while she's doing this, and it is unbelievable. Jen,
Sure.
if you've not seen it, you have
I've
to do it
not
today.
Seen it. I've not seen it.
Because it is unreal. They'll have something where it'll just look like I said, a pimple on somebody's back, and she'll start pushing and squeezing and stuff.
Yes.
And this thing will erupt, and it'll be like you can about fill this pail with the stuff that comes out of it. Now, is that infection?
Yeah, it's pus.
That's in there?
Yeah, it's inflammation and infection, absolutely.
And that's what it is. At any time that something comes out, like you squeeze something, is that actual infection?
99% of the time, it's yellow and it's discolored and it's usually really, really thick. And,
But I watched one time, and you can't, if you get those a lot, and you're a big squeezer, it doesn't help by just squeezing out what's in there. It comes back. You have to get what she called the seed.
Yes, and it's like, I compare it to like a balloon. So you're actually getting the cyst wall out. You're damaging that. Because if you don't, and it will just grow, it just fills back up like a balloon, just fills back up with infection and pus.
Yeah, and she talks about on there while she's doing it, she'll say, "Oh yeah, there's that odor that comes with."
And
I can't imagine if I was in that room. Her just describe.
Yes, it's pungent.
Her just describing that odor is just.
What's it smell like?
I don't know.
Is it smell?
Well, you know it's going to smell like feet.
Well, sure.
Oh, it's worse than feet.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse. It's pungent.
Yeah. I can't. But yeah, I mean, like I can watch it all day. I can watch it on the screen. It's really interesting to me. But just if I don't have smell-o-vision on my computer, thank God, because
once the 40 comes out and somebody like takes a bit of it and wipes it on you.
Oh my! I have a story. Can I tell you a story?
Yeah,
You might
please get me away out of him. He's trying to make me throw up.
I am,
because he knows he can.
So I had this patient one time who was known to the practice, and she had, this is interesting because she had an umbilical hernia. And it was actually really, really popped out and prevalent. It wasn't strangulated or anything.
Is that where it breaks through the skin?
Well,
no, just the muscle wall.
Yeah, that's the muscle wall, exactly. But ideally, you don't bother it. She had picked and picked and picked and picked at it. And one day she was on the toilet, actually, and had picked on it and opened it up and was profusely bleeding. She passed out, and the squad had to come. Okay, so really significant. She's goes to the hospital, and they do a repair, and they put the mesh. The mesh is almost like a screen, like a screen door.
Right.
So they put the mesh in.
It looks like a coffee filter. They showed me mine before they put it in.
Exactly, and it's real fine.
Yeah.
And so that is to prevent future ones from coming, because we have that mesh in there, and then we're not going to have that defect in our muscle wall again. So she was supposed to come in 10 to 14 days to get her sutures removed by yours truly. So she comes in, and she's a morbidly obese patient, which is totally fine. And she comes in, and she wants me to remove her sutures. Well, so I have my assistant my medical assistant who's with me, and I'm first of all trying to find the sutures. We're having a hard time finding these.
Oh no!
Because there's just a lot of skin there and a lot of folds,
going on.
and we're digging and digging. And I mean, honest to goodness, I have dealt in the hospital setting. I've done many things, colostomy bags. Nothing ever in my life has smelled so worse. It was so bad. So we have a trick that we'll put Vicks salve underneath our nose. And so if we know we're going into some kind of very pungent type of smell, so all the nurses, in the hospital, that's what we used to do, put Vicks salve. So we got out the Vicks salve, and we were caking it under, our nose before we went in. So we had a very hard time finding. I mean, I worked for 10 plus minutes to try to find, and it was very, very pungent and kind of rancid smelling. Ugh. So I decide that I need to pour some betadine on this, because we just need to sanitize the whole area, okay? So I'm just literally like pouring betadine, and then I, clean it all off, and that was not the wisest thing, because then everything was all slippery, and like trying to like get in there, and it was all and pulling apart her folds. So I finally get to the bottom. Okay, and there is something there. There's like all this stuff in there. So I pull it out, and it's all these 4x4s that she was, 14 days ago. They were like cleaning the area, and she's supposed to like
gauze.
wash
You're talking about gauze pads.
Yeah, we call it,
4x4.
Yeah, they're like 14 days old of seepage drainage.
Not on the board, bro. Not on the board.
It was the worst thing I've ever smelled in my life. goodness. So sorry, Jim. So sorry. Dear. I wish I would have had that on video.
Oh, we do. That's wonderful.
Come on, Jen.
It was crazy. It was great. I had to actually leave. I had to like go and get some fresh air, and then I would come back in. And so then I had to finish my story. Okay, I had to finish my story. So she is like, she goes, and I promise, I am not exaggerating. She takes her finger and where that mesh was, and she goes and smells it. And she was like, "That's what's been stinking all the time." Oh my. Yeah, that was a crazy day. Oh my. The Vic Sav didn't do a whole lot.
Phenomenal.
Oh my.
Oh, that's so good.
That was one of my grossest stories. I mean, I have a lot of gross stories.
That's awesome.
But that one was up there.
That's where we want to fill up one of those therapy tubs with that stuff.
Exactly.
Hop in there for a minute.
Exactly.
Nope. Okay. Well, I will know, like, if I go in for something and all the nurses have, like, shiny mustaches.
If we all have caked on mustaches, we're expecting it to be bad.
Jen, that's... Oh.
Yeah.
We got to go to something else.
Okay, let's talk about something else.
Phenomenal.
Right. Ooh.
Oh, that's funny.
Fresh flowers.
Oh, that's funny.
Good stuff. We have another question from a listener. Hannah wants to know, has your house ever been surrounded by a SWAT team?
That sounds kind of personal.
Well, actually, yes, it has.
Do tell.
Oh, well, let's see here. So I have a lot of weird stories.
Yes, you do.
Things happen to my husband and I. We are a lot of fun. We like to have fun. So one night we were actually getting ready to move from Ohio to Indiana. And we had a little kiddo at the time. Our oldest was only probably 9 months to a year. Wow. So she was in crib. So this was a long time ago. And let's see, how did it start? So first off, in the middle of the night, like 2 to 3 a.m., we heard voices. And I mean, like voices. You could hear things. And so my husband, did we have cell phones? I think we had cell phones, but it wasn't like we both had a cell phone back then, like one person would have a cell phone. Yeah. And it was on the bedside table. And so he said, I'm going to go check it out. And, you get the phone ready. And so he's like looking all around. He's looking all over the house and he hears these voices very plainly. And then he checks the entire house out. And the one last room, basement and everything, the one last room he did not yet check was the first floor bathroom. So he goes to open the door and open it, and the light's on in there, and the door won't open. It's locked. And so he says, call the police. So I go to call the police, and so he comes upstairs, and he was like, the bathroom door, the light's on, you need to call. So I don't know the police's number, so I call 911. I go to pick up the phone, and our phone lines are dead. And oh my goodness,
bro, that's when you
yeah, so
game on.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And so the cell phone's there, so I call 911, and they were so responsive. I mean, it was they were very wonderful. So she told me I told her the whole story. We heard voices, the first floor bathroom, the lights are on, the door's locked, and our phone lines are cut. And she says, you hold on right there, and I am going to get help. Okay, so this is Columbus. We were right on the Hilliard, and so we had to have, a transfer, and so Columbus. And so she kept on saying, she says, now, I need to know exactly where everyone is in the house. This is probably not news to you because you've done this. But to me, I've never experienced this. This was like crazy. I need to know where everyone is in the house. And so she said, I want you and your husband to be upstairs. She told us exactly what room to be in. And I told them my baby was, where she was. And she said, do not move because the police are coming in and they will knock down the door and they're going to swarm in your house. And I was like, oh my goodness. So then she said, now, do you hear him? Do you hear him? and I was on the phone with her, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think I hear anything. I promise. We have this line of trees, like in front. There was another house, and then a line of trees, and then that's Roberts Road. This helicopter came up over those trees, and I was like, they're here, and there were 4 police cruisers.
Flight of a Valkyrie.
Yes, and so what they did is they actually shone. So the helicopter went all around the house and every light. And she said, "Where are you guys?" She had to stay on the phone with us, and she wanted to continue to know where we were in the house. And so they shined in every single light, and they they kicked our door, and they came in like a flood. I mean, like a swarm. And there were 8 police officers, and they came in, and then the helicopter would shine its light in a room, and then they would run, and then they would go all the way around her house.
Wow.
Well, in the end, everything was okay. So basically, our phone lines had been cut by a utility company doing some kind of work. Unbeknownst to us, we had left that light on downstairs in the door. Who knows how it got locked, but it did. That was our fault. And then those voices, to this day, they actually did. I believe they did find a dropped cell phone outside. I believe they did. So something was trying to happen.
Yeah.
It was a crazy situation.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Now, you also, besides that one, which is weird enough.
I have another story.
You
as we're talking.
Yeah.
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. Jen and her family, the nicest people on the planet, right?
We are so
International drug dealers.
Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's
in this
always the cover.
in
right?
this next story.
Do you want to hear this story?
Yeah.
So moving back to from Indiana to Ohio, it's always based
So you don't want to move.
No,
you're locked
we
in
better
now,
not
right?
move.
Like,
We
yeah, we
better
got
not
our
move.
house. Like, we're
Yes.
just gonna stay there.
Yes, we need to. That is our lesson for the future. We found a house to rent, and so we were going to rent in this certain school district because we wanted our oldest to be in the certain school district. Okay,
Sure.
So we were going to rent, and we even had an inspection. Nice house in Hilliard. It was a 3-bedroom house, nice house, and so as we were going through the inspection, it was interesting because the front door was in the garage, and it was kind of all like smashed up. And Aaron, my husband, commented on it, and the inspector guy and the realtor didn't know why this had happened. And moving on, so we continued on. And then we noticed upstairs in one of the bedrooms, there was drywall and it had not been painted. Interesting. Okay. So we moved in, and, with our 2 young kids. And we moved in, and the neighbors started talking, and they asked us if we knew the story of this house. And we said...
That's always the worst.
Exactly.
After you move in,
Why didn't they tell
then
us?
someone's like, "Hey, do you guys know what happened in there?"
Yeah.
Because that's never a pleasant conversation.
Exactly.
Or when
Like,
they say,
"Oh, the Queen of England stayed there for a night." No,
No.
somebody died.
Yeah, something happened.
Always.
Yeah.
Something happened. So they said that there were these 3 Mexican people that were living in the house, and they were selling drugs out of the house. They were dealing drugs, and big time drug stuff. And so one night, it was in in October. It was cold out and it was dark. These are what the neighbors are telling us. The SWAT team came and kicked down the door, and they found they brought dogs in and everything, and they found a huge amount of heroin, cocaine, marijuana that was in the walls of the house. It was hidden in the walls. And at one time, it was like tens of thousands of dollars worth of these drugs. So then they were arrested, and this is all hearsay, based on the neighbors. They were arrested, and this house was a rental. But they had done this in Hilliard, like in a neighborhood to, I guess, so they wouldn't be exposed.
Right.
And so then they came back into the house, and then they were on house arrest. Okay. So I don't know, legally, what happened in that whole process. But then and so the neighbors, they kept on getting notices on their door. I think that they were getting evicted, and, they hadn't paid their utilities.
Right.
So the neighbors would actually dare each other at nighttime to come and read the notices. So they told us all about this, But they were terrified.
Okay, it's an eviction notice.
These people. So then they fled. The Mexicans fled, and what we have heard is that they fled down to Florida. So then we move in, we're living our lives, and it's like a year later and no issues, and interesting story. Honestly, I was a little worried. Are there still drugs on the walls,
Sure.
And in hindsight, we
Yeah.
should have maybe had a dog or something come through and stuff, but we always had that. Until the day we moved, we had that worry. So one day we were out just in the backyard, and we were mowing, and we were really good friends with all the neighbors, and this guy across, his name was Jason, that lived next to us, and he said, he talked to my husband, and he said, have you seen this black SUV, this big black SUV that's been sitting outside of our house every single day? And I'd seen it, I didn't know who was in, and Aaron said, yeah, we've seen it. And he said, it's been out here like every single day. And he said, I'm trying to figure out what this is about. So then about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, Jason calls me, and I was home from work that day. I mean, it was my day off. And he said, you need to get out of the house right now. The U.S. Marshals are going to come in and raid your home. And I was like,
It's
what?
never good. If you see a black SUV, it's never
Exactly.
good. With tinted windows, never good.
Never good.
Nope.
It's one of two things: the government or drug dealers.
Exactly.
That's it. That's it.
So I, Mama Bear, put this youngest kid on my hip, and I'm going to go up and down the street and find this black SUV because I have nothing to hide.
Right.
Yeah.
You
could
gonna
not
start
find
swinging.
him. Yeah, I could not find him. What had happened was they had come through. They were asking the neighbors about us and what kind of people we were, and could we be the people doing drug activity? And so Jason was like, they are the nicest family, and he then stopped them one day. But they had been asking all kinds of neighbors, and the neighbors, this all happened like 2 days before this. So anyway, they had been in the road, and Jason had stopped them, and they said somehow he got the information that they were doing this raid on us. And so then I couldn't find the black SUV, and I went up and down the street and the cul-de-sac, couldn't find it. And so I didn't know what in the world to do. I couldn't get a hold of my husband because he was in a conference call. So who do I call? I called Jim.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the world do we do? They say the U.S. Marshals. And I mean, do I believe this or not? And Jason told them to be careful. He said, she has two little kids, in the house. So you actually gave me, I don't know if you remember, you gave me the number for the U.S. Marshals. There's a northern territory of this. I know all this now. Yeah. There's a northern for Ohio, and there's a southern. And so I think we fall in the southern. And so we called them, and it was right. They were planning on that day coming and doing a raid of our house. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And so we got a hold of them and talked to this. We literally still have his number in our phone. He told us. We told them the situation. My husband talked to them. We're a really nice family. So I'll tell you why they were thinking this. I'll tell you why in a minute. But he told us to keep his number, and if we ever have any problems from the previous owners, call him immediately. So we have this U.S. Marshal who takes care of the whole southern Ohio in my husband's cell phone. Isn't that crazy?
It's awesome.
Yes.
Service with a smile.
Just because of where you moved.
Exactly.
Just because the house you moved
so
into.
innocent. So what had happened is I guess we have the same SUV as the Mexicans did. So that was one thing. They thought the Mexicans had come back. Number two, I was outside all the time. Like I work in the yard, and I had the kids outside. And so I'm not quite sure,
It was beach season. You had a good tan going.
I did. I guess I looked Mexican or something like that. But I think that their thought process is that we were hiding them in the basement, which is crazy. And then last we go to, this is kind of funny. We go to a church called Agape Community Fellowship that in the afternoon on Sundays, a Spanish church actually rents out our space and has for years, and has church in our space.
All the signs are matching up.
So on the back side of our sign, it's in English, and then on the back side of the sign, it's in Spanish. And so it was VBS week, and so I happened to be at church like every single day that week, and it was just I was going to this Mexican church all the time, same SUV.
They're only driving down the one road. They can only see the Spanish sign. They're like,
exactly.
Yeah,
That's her.
these mothers are back.
Isn't that so weird?
Activate the Alpha Squad.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Only you, Jen.
Crazy situation. And thank goodness for Jim. I don't know what in the world we would have done.
It was funny.
But it really was true. They really were going to raid our house that day.
Yeah, if you were driving the same vehicle.
Hilarious.
Because they're thinking there's still
money
in the walls.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I still wonder if there was. Because, they raided it quickly. And isn't that
insane.
unbelievable?
That's something.
I know. We found this is part of the story. We found this enormous orange chest, like enormous, like a metal, like heavy duty chest. And it was out, they had left it, and it was out in the garage. And it was like, we couldn't get it open. It was locked. And I was like, oh dear. What's in that? And so there was always this like question. So my husband eventually got it open, and it was empty. There was just like a little like whitish stuff on the bottom, and I don't know if we could make anything more out of that or not, but he got the chest open. That was a little weird there for a while. Not knowing what was
it
in
starts smelling real bad. You're like,
Uh-oh.
That's big enough to hold a body.
Yeah, it was big. It was
Let's
real
get a
big.
crowbar.
Oh, I have crazy stories.
Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I hope you'll come back and tell us more of them. But
I would love to. Thank you
right
so
now, we're going
much.
to close out and get you out of here. O'Brien Medicine. That's OBRIEN medicine.com. Get on there, take a look around, and give Jen a call. Now, you've mentioned Indiana a couple times, but that's not where your practice is at. You are.
I am in Dublin, Ohio.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And you can find the address and directions on their website, o'brienmedicine.com.
Exactly.
And I'll put a little placard on at the end of the show so people
great.
can have your number and everything like that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
on.
having me.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Cory, did you have anything else to close with?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All I ask you to do is love somebody.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Point 19 Productions, and to our podcast through iTunes or Stitcher. As always, we ask you help support the show by liking, commenting, and sharing our content. For up-to-date information regarding the B Team, head to thebteamwithcoryandjim.com.